to the critics, my words are like physics, a force that they can't stop. They just don't get it, I think they forget I'm not done till I'm on top. I know I was born for this. I know I was born for this. I believe we can write our story.
All right, everyone. Hello, good afternoon, good morning, happy day, aloha, all the other good things that people say when they like to see one another. Thank you for joining us once again. It's Gary Wise, Words from the Wise podcast. And today, special guest, I got another one of my former students, my second student or former student, I guess I should say, jumping on the podcast. And she goes by the name of Smitty. Smitty, what's
Hello.
up? Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great.
I took my glasses off so like the light's not like reflecting off of the glasses because I hate when I look at those videos of myself. I'm like, oh my god, look at that light glaring in his glasses, dude. Oh, Smitty, so where are you at right now?
I am currently on Camp Lejeune in Courthouse Bay.
Okay, so that's North Carolina, right?
Yes,
Or South Carolina? North
North Carolina.
Carolina. Okay. And Camp Lejeune, how's that?
Uh, it could be better. It's very boring here. Not a lot to do, but we make the
Yeah.
most of it.
Did you ever get your truck there?
No, I'm not allowed to drive yet because I'm still in schoolhouse, but
Okay.
I hit the fleet in 19 days, I think. So
19
I will get my truck.
days.
Yes,
Hit the fleet in 19 days. I like the sound of that. Do you know where you're going now?
Camp Lejeune, North Carolina.
That's where you're staying?
Yes,
Shut up.
yes, I am staying over
Oh,
on Main Side.
oh man, we were hoping for Guam. We were hoping for
I
for
know.
overseas.
Only
Is
2 people out of our 31 students got overseas. So
That's
the
crazy.
rest of us got, there was one that is going to San Diego for the MCRD. There's
Okay.
one that's going to Buford. There's one that's going to Washington State. And then the rest of us are either Pendleton or North Carolina outside of Hawaii.
And this is out of all the Marines that were with you in your pipeline for your training, right?
Right, this is the 31 that is in my class right now for water purification.
Wow. That's, I would have thought they would have had in the Navy. It feels like they send everybody overseas. That's crazy. So staying in Camp Lejeune, are you upset about that? Or are you okay with that?
I'm a little upset. I wanted Japan
Yeah.
really bad, but
Yeah.
North Carolina though, I lived here for 6 years. So like I'm okay with the weather and how there's seasons and everything. We just had snow a little bit ago. So like
Right.
it's not the worst thing in the world.
You're right. Right. Yeah. No, definitely it's not the worst place in the world. You get all the seasons there. And your first tour, so where are you going to be attached to where are you going to? Is it to a
I'm
Marine
going
division?
to a second MLG, so a logistics
Okay.
unit, but I'm
Yep.
gonna be in 8th ESB, which is an engineering battalion.
Got it. Okay. And so and they deploy on board ships, I would imagine, coming out of Norfolk or whatever it is.
I've also heard that I might be going to Yuma, Arizona on the border to help the combat engineers set up like what's it called? Sea wire.
Nice.
Mhm.
Something to do, right? Something to go,
Yeah.
something to
And
do,
I
something to
they also said
contribute.
that
Yeah.
I get to learn how to do stuff outside of my MOS. So I'm water purification, so all I do is just kind of distribute water every now and then, which
Mhm.
doesn't happen too often. But whenever I
Right.
go, I might be able to help the combat engineers post security and put up stuff. I might be able to help ELEC do anything that they're doing or work on generators, anything like that.
And I'm sure the more you get to know, the more of a well-rounded engineer, I guess you would be. And as
Right.
you get up to the ranks, right, as like a gunny, would a gunny be over like a whole group of different flavors of engineer type Marines?
Um, Sometimes they're able to help out with the advanced courses, which is just coming back and learning the better version of what we learned as basic Marines.
Okay.
But more often than not, it's kind of just tries to stick to us because you do need to still have like that specialty.
Okay. Well, let's get back to or let's go back a little bit. So when we first met, right? I still remember the first day we met. You had come to the school to Vanguard with your mom, and you guys were checking out the schoolhouse because you were looking for a Navy junior ROTC. You remember that?
I do.
So you had come down from up Georgia or wherever you were living before you lived in Florida, went to a different high school that we're not going to throw them under the bus, nothing against them, but it was not a Navy program, and you were looking specifically for a Navy program. Why were you looking for a Navy program? Do you remember?
Well, so whenever I was in Georgia, I was in a Navy JROTC, and that's where I started, and I just had already known so much with it. And then whenever I went to Air Force, the
Mhm,
people weren't as friendly, and then also it just didn't seem like they were involved in enough stuff for me, especially drill, because that was my thing. And they
mhm.
they didn't even have a drill team. All they had was color guards. So I wanted to get out of there and back to my Navy roots.
So were you excited when you did some research and found out that there was a Navy JROTC nearby?
Yes, I was so excited. I knew that I would be able to come back and get back into the swing of things and actually be able to do something with it other than just sitting there and like being confused the whole time.
So how did you find out that we were a Navy JROTC? Just through word of mouth, like people talking, or did you like actually have to look it up and like research it?
So at the time, we really weren't that big of a unit. So whenever I was looking up like Vanguard, like ROTC, I think I had actually went to y'all's page, like that you had
Mm,
set up at the time. And I
mhm.
noticed that it was Navy, but I didn't really see much else. So I was like, okay, at least it's Navy, so then I can go there and like talk to them, see what's happening. And
Yeah,
lo and behold, it was actually the best one.
it worked out. Yeah, it definitely worked out. I mean, let's be honest, you did the darn thing, man. You came to Vanguard and you kicked it into high gear. But if you remember, I think one of the first things we did is when you got there, we actually lowered you in rank and made you
hmm
earn it back a little bit. What did you think about that process?
I was heartbroken. Like at first, I had so much like I just hated it because I went from an ensign, so an O1,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, cool, I'll get my rank back. And you're like, yeah, that doesn't really exist. We don't
Yep.
just have random ensigns. So then you're like, all right, I'm gonna put you down to a PO1. I was like, whoa. And you were like, we're gonna go through the chief process and everything. And I'm like, I don't want to be a chief. I want to be an ensign. But then it ended up turning out to be like the best possible route for me because I loved being a chief and being in like the chief's nest and everything.
Yeah, well, and I think the other thing was to show all the other cadets, because remember you were coming into an organization that was you were coming your junior year, right?
hmm
It was like I think it was my second year there was when you came in, and then you did my third year there was when you did your senior year, but you came in halfway through your junior year, I believe it was, or beginning of the junior year, and I think it was a chance to show everybody else that you were going to earn your rank and not just come in as an officer right away. Cause you did exactly that. Like I remember because we do boards at Vanguard and you stood tall at a promotion board and just smoked the whole thing. And then you made chief with like, what was it? Misty and Naomi and
I
Archer,
yes,
right?
yes.
Like that's a freaking amazing group of people to go through chief's initiation with too. Right. So you came to the school, junior. Were you nervous about changing schools again in high school though? Because you had changed school from Georgia to Florida, then again, you didn't even do that one high school for a whole school year, right?
No,
You were
I
just
was
there for
there for 2 months, 3 months,
all right, so
but
only 2, 3 months, yeah.
I by Vanguard, I had been at 13 schools before because my family had just moved around a whole lot whenever I was a kid. So
Mhm.
moving schools wasn't really like the worst thing in the world. It was just ROTC that I was worried about.
Got it. And I can relate to that. I moved a lot growing up as well. When you look back on your life, just now here you are, a young adult Marine getting ready to move out for the rest of your life. How do you think that moving affected you? Have you really sat down and thought about that yet? Or was it a positive? Was it a net neutral, negative? Have you considered it
I
yet?
feel like it has both ends to it. It was a good thing as far as like, especially now as being in the military where we move around a lot and we leave people, come back, whatever. It makes it a lot easier
Mhm.
for me to be able to just be like, all right, cool, I'm leaving now, bye. You know,
Yeah.
but at the same time, that can also have its downfalls because it's harder to make friendships because they just know that you're gonna leave and come back, and you're never really in one place. So I guess it has either end to it, but it could be so much worse.
It can be so much worse, and I agree with you. I didn't really think about it too much till I got older, and I started doing it to my kids, where I was moving them around, and they weren't really making these connections with people. All that moving, then in contrast to kids that have like lived in the same place their whole life, and like you remember being in our RTC and kids would like have pictures of each other from like kindergarten on their cell phones, and you're like, you guys knew each other in kindergarten? That's weird, right? Like how? That's not our experience, right? Our experience was that resilience where we're moving and you got to make the best out of it because you don't control that move. But I do agree that it prepared you very well for the military status of moving, making the best out of it, and maybe going to Arizona, right? Because that's the opportunity to go, and you're okay with that moving around thing. Um, I remember when you got to Vanguard and everyone starts jockeying for position, right? Everyone's always worried about, is someone going to take my job? Is someone going to take my place? Did you feel any of that when you got to the school?
Uh, I could definitely tell that there was a lot of tension between me and some people because they realized that I was a lot better than it seemed and that I was gunning for the positions because I really wanted
Mhm.
them. And then it started just being butting heads with a lot of people and it turned in some bad situations, but in the end it evened out because so many people got so many different opportunities and it kind of just it made its way in.
I I got to be honest. For me, I loved it, right? Like personally, just because number one, I like direct communicators, and you're a direct communicator, right? Like you're not afraid to have an uncomfortable conversation, and I feel like people start getting comfortable in their own little area, and then they start thinking that they're really that good, and the reality is, yeah, you might be that good out of this 5 or 6 people, but there's other people out there way better. And so never forget that. Don't start getting so comfortable. And it was the same thing when I was in the Navy. I remember I was taking the trash out one time, and here I am, I'm an E6, first class petty officer, sailor of the year, thinking I'm just amazing, right? And I'm throwing the trash away, and there's this female coming off of the ship right across the pier from me. I don't know who she is. She's got a red hat on. I've got a red hat on. So we're both DC men. She's a first class petty officer. I'm a first class petty officer. So, like, I'm like sizing her up, like, oh, hey, what's up? How you doing? Nice to meet you. I'm DC1 Wise. She told me her name, DC1 so and so. I was like, oh, cool. And then, I just casually dropped that I'm Sailor of the Year. She casually dropped, so was she. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, what were the odds of this other person in the same essentially job field as me right across a pier probably kicking my butt, right? Probably doing even better than I am. And that was when I realized, like, you don't got the game nearly as locked down as you think you do. Don't start believing you're that great. Start working harder. Like, don't ever get so comfortable that you just stop trying to grow. And so when you came into the team, it really shook up some of that, right, with people, because they recognized immediately that you were able to do things. And then for me, I was already looking forward to the future, and it was how best to put you in a position to be successful, but then also be loyal to all the people that had already been showing support to the team. One of the biggest challenges I had was you did not get selected for one of my CO, XO, or CMC jobs your senior year. Um, when you look back on that decision or that process, what did you think was going on? Do you remember?
Um, I remember I was very hurt because
Yeah.
I had had a conversation with you before and it was talking about how like what positions I wanted and I was like I'd love to be CO or XO but company commander I'd be very okay with that because I'd be even to what I was at my old unit and
Yeah.
you had said like I see so much better than that for you because you're so good with leadership and stuff like that and then whenever I got company commander I was like he was saying that I was so much better than it but then I got it so I was like
Yeah.
I don't understand. But then as I look back on it though, I realized that me as a CO or an XO wouldn't fit as well because I like to be very included with the people. I like being able to talk to them and have like everyday conversations with them and them come to me for anything. So being a company commander kind of made more sense for me because they are very people inclusive and like to be out there with them.
Well, and the other thing was I was managing, if you remember, there was 2 of you that came into the program and you were on your junior years and you were both very competitive,
Hmm.
right? I mean, equally competitive for different reasons, different ways, but definitely was a challenge trying to manage these 2 strong personalities, right? And then I also had people who had been in the program for 2.5 years, 3 years since they were freshmen, already kind of working their way up the food chain as well. So it was trying to be fair to the people who had been there, fair to these new people that had just kind of showed up, but they were both impressive and both super competitive. And I will tell you, as a command master chief, one of the challenges is taking care of my chiefs that have been on the ship for a couple of years but are kind of tired. When this new chief shows up right off shore duty or fresh to the organization, and it's got all the energy in the world because everything is jacked up, but it's not their fault. So they're just going to fix it all, right? When you've been there for 2 years, you can't really say it's not your fault, right? You've been part of the thing. So you can't just get out of jail free card and act like you have nothing to do with it. On the reverse, uh, trying to be open-eared, listen to people's ideas, support their new vision, and get out of their way is actually hard. One of the hardest things to do as a leader. If you remember, you had that vision for certain things, but you had like gatekeepers, if you will, trying to like blocking you a little bit. I remember in particular when it came to like exhibition drill, and you'd be frustrated, like, I don't want to do this, but if we're gonna do it, I want to do it different. And and it was tough to manage that. And so for me, I had all of that going on, right? And I was almost damned if I do, damned if I don't on different positions. And your group was actually the group that I first made the company commanders. I feel like the same rank as the XO. Um, and I did that purposefully though, because I wanted everyone to see like all 3 of these people could have arguably been the XO, right?
Hmm.
And then I also made a master chief out of a lower grade, right? Which was another challenge for later because I had to figure out what to do with him his senior year, right? But that might continue to happen because I think it's a good developing opportunity. What I really appreciate about that moment was you trusted me. You took it on the chin, even though I knew you were disappointed, and you still kept the lead. Now, when you look back on your senior year, do you really feel like you were not in command?
No, no. It seems like I was CO. And I'm not like
Really?
throwing anybody else under the bus because they genuinely were doing their job and they were doing really well at it. But
Yeah,
the amount of things that I did and had control over it felt like I was CO.
that part. That's what I loved about your senior year. Watching you just step into the leadership opportunities that you just kept being given because people were not doing it, right? So by them choosing to do other things, you were just always logically the senior person there, plus the leader. And I think back on all of the speeches you gave on the bus. I think back to all the times you like rallied people to do things. I remember one time I was on a ship and my commanding officer, he 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 rode on everything the ship had, right? So he rode on like the small boats, he rode on like the LCACs, he rode on like everything the ship had, he did in one day. And that was how I felt like that one competition where you did like every team, right? On one competition, you performed on every team and commanded, I think, most of them,
I
right?
did.
Like literally command that will probably never happen again because I can't let that happen. That's how light we were. Right? We're blessed to have a little more depth even just a year later, but that's how light we were a year ago, where you were commanding multiple teams, competing on every team. And that's it's a legendary thing, right? The cadets still talk about that one time Smitty did everything, right? So good for you. Uh, when you look back on your senior year of high school, do you wish you'd done anything different? Do you look back on that yet and regret anything or no?
No, I think I did everything and more that I wanted to do. Granted, do I wish I got a little more sleep? Yeah. Because I miss sleep a little bit, but
Yeah.
because if you look back and think about it, so in the morning I would go to the gym and then come back, get ready for the day. I would come to morning practice because we usually had color guard in the morning or drill, and then I
Hmm.
would go through my school day, and then I would have after school practice, and then on days that I didn't have PT with the Marine Corps, then I would also be working. So most days I wouldn't get home. So on PT days, I wouldn't get home till roughly around 7. And then on days that I worked, I wouldn't get home until almost midnight. And I also
Mm.
had 2 jobs at the time because I needed to save up money for whenever I did get out of boot camp and I had money to spend.
Right.
So I wish I did a little less as far as like outside of like ROTC and whatnot because it wore me down a lot. But if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have had like the knowledge that I had now.
I remember you were hustling. I remember you got a couple different jobs at different restaurants. Uh, the Roadhouse one, didn't you get a job at Roadhouse for a little
Yes.
while where you were like dang near running the place? It felt like just hearing you talk to me about it, you know. And then I ate there one time, and I was like, I could totally see Smitty just running around over here in this little area, just making things happen. Um, I remember that other time you got that job at the bowling alley, and I
Hmm.
remember you were getting excited because all the tips that you got from working there at the bowling alley.
Yeah.
And that's a good place, I think, for a young person to work, right? Because it's
Hmm.
family friendly, people aren't going to be too crazy, and they were good tippers, right? So there you go. And I remember you were like, I need gas money, I got to pay for my phone, I got bills.
Yeah.
But what I loved about you is most kids, especially senior year, when they get those jobs, they do lose focus on the commitments that they made also to their team for like ROTC. And you never did that, right? You always made that a priority, even though you were, like you said, very busy. Um, Now, when you are getting ready to go to boot camp to basic training, did you wish you had done anything different in your preparations to get ready to go? Or was everything you thought you
Mm.
did everything good? Like, would you give it? I've got some cadets that are getting ready to go to basic training. You know, I've got one that's going to the Marine Corps this summer. I've got one going to national, actually, two going to National Guard this summer. Any advice you'd give to them?
Run a lot
Run.
because
That's what I
I
tell them.
realize now because for the Marine Corps we have to run 3 miles. I know
Yeah.
Army's a little bit different, but obviously they do build you up a little bit. They start with a mile and a half, which is the IST or ISA. It goes either way. Um, but it's a pretty big jump from a mile and a half to 3 miles. You're already doubling it. So as far as like you might think you're doing really good, and then you run that 3 mile and you're like, dang, that was kind of hard. Because I went
Mhm.
there doing about a 30-minute 3 mile, which is not good at all. That's
Mhm.
barely passing. And whenever I
Right.
left there, I was running roughly a 26, which still isn't great, but it's better, obviously. Um, and another thing I would say is work on any sort of mobility or any sort of like just functional strength because I ended up getting injured because of my mobility.
Mhm. Well, I think that's interesting about the running thing because you're a runner. Like you run. You just don't think you don't have the sense of urgency to run a little bit faster, or what is it there, you think?
Usually your lungs get really
Mm,
tired really quickly
got it.
because
Okay.
once you start breathing a little too hard, then your lungs start hurting, then you start to panic, and then you breathe
Mm,
in an abnormal way. So then it just causes you to just tire out.
yeah. When you said you got hurt, how are you doing now? Are you all healed up?
Yes, actually, on my birthday, January 28th, I got fully cleared from my light duty and everything. Um, I was told that my injury is probably a lifelong thing, and I'm probably going to deal with
Mhm.
it most of my life. But it's easier to take care of now because I learned a lot of like uh ways to strengthen it and ways to move it about so that it's not always hurting.
Good. And the reality is you got to take care of your body the way that your body needs to be cared for, right? Like I just can't do certain things because I'm not 6 foot tall, right? It's just how it is. And so I have got to take care of my body and make my body do what it's got to do and be successful at my job as a part of the team, right? And then you go from there. Um, when you look back on the training you went through in basic training, what were like your big? Do you have 3 big takeaways from boot camp or from basic training?
Ooh. Um, in many situations, there's a lot more leadership than there needs to be, or people trying to be in leadership that doesn't need to, and it can get really frustrating.
Mhm,
In many situations, I got fired from being squad leader or guide for people that didn't need to be in the situation of leadership.
mhm,
Um, and it irritated me a lot because they just wanted to feel that sense of power and didn't actually know what to do leadership wise. Um, so that um, it's not always about physicality, and it's a lot of mentality. If you think that you're not going to get through it, you're probably not going to get through it. And
mhm.
if you think something is too hard for you, then it probably is gonna work up to where it is too hard for you because you don't think that you can actually do it. You're not going to give it your all. Um, it's I went boot camp is a lot. It's
Yeah,
even though sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, boot camp's easy. I go back and do it because I would, but
right.
it's hard.
Yeah. Well, you have the right mentality though for it, right? And I do think that the challenge for you, for example, is people that are in places of leadership ahead of you, senior to you, whatever it is, that are unfortunately not successful or not being as good as you know they could be or that you could be, but that you don't get the opportunity for whatever the reason, right? Because who knows why somebody makes the choices that they do. I mean, for me personally, I would not give you the leadership position just because part of learning how to be the best is learning how to follow people, even though when they frustrate you, right? And I know that's one of your challenges. And I think someday you're going to be the head person wherever you want to be, but you will have also learned that grace of being able to work with people in a lot of different areas. Uh, do you looking back on boot camp or basic training or whatever it was, who was removing you from positions? Was it other recruits or was it actually the instructors?
No, it was my senior drill instructor, which so there's you have your normal drill instructors, which is your kill hats, knowledge hats, and your EDI, so your experienced drill instructor. And then over them is your senior drill instructors. They're kind of just like they're the parent that saves you from a lot of situations if something bad's happening.
Yeah.
But more often than not, she would see me in the position, and she said I was doing exactly as you said, that you know I need to learn how to follow before I can lead. And she said that in a lot of situations, it would be like I was trying to show out and I was trying to be leader, but then during downtime or anything like that, then I would be doing my own thing. And she just saw that and wanted to correct it in the best way possible. And the best way possible is taking me out of the leadership position.
Yeah. But then you think back on that, and that was in your top 3 memories, right? And you'll never
Oh
forget
yeah.
it. You'll never forget that. And I remember when I went through Chiefs initiation, uh, there was 9 of us, and I never one time got to be in charge. Not once. This is like a 6, 7 week of thing. And you know how we kind of did you guys a little bit in school about who's in charge. Well, for us, it was like a full every day, full day thing where we're serving meals, we're all together, doing all these different things. And I never got to be in charge. And I was so frustrated because all these other people were in charge, and I was never me and this other young guy who also was. We were the 2 youngest selectees. And after I made chief, I asked him, I was like, why did I ever get to be in charge, man? I was so pissed. Like, I wanted to be in charge. And they were like, because we knew you could lead. That wasn't the problem. It was, could you follow? Could you? And that was a lesson that I never forgot. Right. And you just have to kind of learn to play your position and figure things out. And timing plus preparation equals destiny, and just keep working it out and play the long game, right? Because
Hmm.
sometimes it's just like that, and there you go. So You came home after basic training. What was it like coming home? Was it home? Was it the same, or were you able to come back home and it just felt like you'd never left, or was it a different feeling?
It was very different because I had just spent my last 3 months living in the same room in a squad bay as 90 other people, and we were all
Yeah.
showering together, and there was no sense of privacy. There was no sense of like an actual personality because that's what they do at boot camp is strip your personality. So whenever I came home and I had a shower to myself and a bed to myself and I could talk to people like normal people, it
Yeah.
was definitely really hard to adjust back to. I found myself calling my mom ma'am, and God did she hate me for that because
Right.
she's like, I'm not old. You're not calling me ma'am. I'm your mom. So more often than not, and I catch myself standing at parade rest, even though I'm home, I can relax. Or I'd still use the same like terminology that we would use, like, go touch the bulkhead, or we're going to the head, making a head call, or, on the deck or anything like that. I found myself still acting as if I'm in boot camp, but I'm home.
Yeah. Well, and you got to come home really quickly after basic training too.
Mhm.
Like you were home like 2, 3 days after graduation. You got to be
Yeah,
home. In the Navy, I felt like it was not that fast for us. We would always go to some school right away and then be able to go home later. But for you, it was like literally you graduated like on Thursday and you were home like on Saturday.
yeah,
Like, did you ride back home with your mom and dad?
I did.
See, right? Like they came to graduation and they brought you home with them. Like
Yep,
that's crazy. And you've now been home twice since you joined the Marine Corps because you came home for Christmas as well, right?
I did.
When you look at the two leave periods you had so far, have was there any differences between the two?
Yes, because being here in schoolhouse, you get to be a civilian on the weekends. And you see, I'm in civilian attire. You're allowed to go back to your normal life, and you have like after work, you can do whatever you please. So it's much easier to go back home and be a
Mhm.
civilian. Granted, I still get pissed off at a lot of things that civilians do. Like, I'm used to moving fast everywhere I go. So if I'm in the grocery store or something and somebody's walking really slow, I'm like, walk faster.
Mhm.
It's stuff like that it's harder to adjust back to, but it's much easier than straight out of boot camp because boot camp you're still brainwashed. You're still like getting back used to normal life, but in schoolhouse I was already getting back to it.
Well, and I think for me, I would use the term individual vice civilian, right? Because individual, like you said a minute ago, they take away your individuality and they put you in this position where you're part of this collective. And then when you get out to the fleet or when you get out to the schoolhouse, you're part of the collective during the workday, but then after work, you get to be an individual until you do something wrong. Then all of a sudden they remind you, nope, you're still part of the collective, dude. Like you don't get to do
Hmm.
that, right? And that's where we're different from civilians because, but it's really not even just civilians because if I go out and do something that publicly humiliates my job, my school, maybe they don't want me to keep working there as a teacher, right? So that thing never really goes away. But it's understanding that this thing that we are is really 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But you have this individuality opportunity to express yourself. Uh, for me, I always had this challenge when I'd go home on leave of people never had time for me, it felt like, because they all had lives going on. And I was like this new addition that none of them calculated in their plans. Did you find that when you came back with friends and all that, or was that not really a problem and friends dropped everything and all came running to hang out with you when you were there?
Well, it kind of helped the fact that it was Christmas break. So a lot of the cadets that I
Mm,
was still in contact with, they were also out on break. So it was easier to get in contact and hang out with them, but it was also I was doing RA, so I had to go into the office and help with recruiting. So
right.
some days they'd be like, "Oh yeah, I can hang out," and I'm like, "I'm at the office." Or
Mm.
if I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm off this day," they're like, "Oh, I have family over." So going home during holiday is definitely a lot harder to see family and friends because they're always trying to see each other as well. So
Yeah, yeah. That's a good point. I will tell you that as you guys all get older, if you and your friends or whoever it is, the best ways I've found to have good visits with people is to meet at like a separate location that we're all going to the same place together to be together, right? And we're
right,
not because when I'm at home, I've got all this stuff going on already day for day. If you come visit me in Ocala and you want to come stay at my house, it's like I didn't just take off a whole bunch of time to do not do a whole lot, right? Which because no one wants no people rarely just give themselves permission to chill and like just be on vacation, right? Which is what it feels like for us when we go on leave. Except for like you said, you were working in the recruiting office, which is part of the deal for you to get to come home on that time
mhm,
period, which is smart on their part because you get to get people to recruit to join the Marine Corps. But I love meeting friends, meeting family at we want to go to Dollywood, right? Like we all want to go to Dollywood, go see Dolly Parton stuff, get an Airbnb, and then just get to be together and hang out and have some chance to really catch up and have quality time, right?
right.
Um, yeah. Well, I mean, looking at how you feeling about the job you got now? If you've been doing it for a while longer, because when we first met, you really wanted aviation. You really wanted to get involved
Mhm.
in the aviation field. How are you feeling now about getting into the engineering field?
Um, Still not exactly what I wanted.
Okay.
Because I am, so we're called water dogs. They're water purification specialists. So we learn how to do plumbing, how to set up like field showers, field laundry, as well as purifying water. And I've already went through, like in my course, I've already went through all the field stuff, and now we're actually on purification. And it's definitely a really cool job because you get to see the process of everything. You get to be able to be the one to do the process. But
Mhm.
in the end, you kind of sit back and look at it. You're like, this is all I'm doing. I just purify water. What is my
Yeah.
job? But
Yeah.
you're also greatly appreciated by the infantry people because obviously, if they're in the field, they want to take a shower. They want to do their laundry.
Yeah.
They're stinking. They want some nice cold water, and we're allowed to be. We're able to bring that to them. And so they obviously, if they're going on like a 2 week field op or something, they don't need the showers or anything, but they still need the water. So either way, it's nice to be able to be needed.
Yeah. I will tell you every job matters, right? I remember on the ship, I would tell people, whether you're the guy that's loading the sodas in the soda machine, the sailor that's getting church services ready to go and so everybody can go to church on Sunday, the person scooping green beans out in the chow hall, like every job matters. We all play a role. And we all just need to be proud of what we're doing to contribute to the team. And let's hope that we never got to get to a position where we're all just fighting for our lives, right? Like
Yeah,
let's hope we don't get into that position, because if we ever get into that position, we're all going to really rely upon each other to figure things out. And then for us in the Navy, it was like fighting to put the fire out on the ship or not go into the water in the middle of the night. Or for you guys, it's going to be possibly, God forbid, you're out somewhere and it's an attack, and what are you going to do, right? And just figuring that out. And let's hope we never have to cross those bridges, and I think finding pride in what you bring to the fight and to the team will go a long way, because at some point you're going to blink and you'll be a staff sergeant, and you'll be a staff sergeant water dog, and you'll have some young water dog fresh out of school, and they're like, all we do is make water. And you're like, listen, Marine, let me tell you, here's how it goes, bro. Like, and you're gonna teach them how to find pride in what they do, you know when I was a firefighter in the Navy, not all my sailors loved being damage controlmen, right? It was, you were not flying the fighter planes, right? You were not working on the flight deck. You were not doing this grand, you know, super electronic warfare, pressing buttons to launch warheads. We're the guys fighting to fight a fire that we hopefully never have, right? And
right.
you have to learn how to keep each other motivated, and then remember all the other things you're getting for your time in the service, because there's a lot of other benefits that can come with it if you strategically leverage it all the right way. you know have you changed any of your plans? So you've been in now the Marine Corps how long? What is it, almost a year?
coming up on it. I joined June 24th.
Okay.
So
So
I've been in 8 months,
eight
going on 8
months.
months.
And are you in E3 now?
I'm in E2, private first
E2.
class.
Okay. When are you up for E3?
March 24th.
Okay. And what do you have to do to get that promotion?
It was mostly just time and service for me because
Okay.
it's I believe 9 months that you get it. Um, However, it is possible for you to go get two referrals like on recruiting assistants, and if they dep in, then you can get the promotion. But I wasn't able to do that.
Okay. So in March, mid-March, you're going to promote to E3, right? And then so in the Navy, it's also 9 months, E2 to E3. And then it's 6 months for us, E3 to E4. Do you know what it is for the Marine Corps?
E3 to E4 is it's hard because you're going up for an NCO.
Hmm.
Um, I'm pretty sure it's another 9 months, but I'm not
Okay.
sure. It's mostly based off of like if you actually are eligible to promote throughout your JPES, which is like our promotion system and like all the requirements that you need. So it's not so much of time and service, but more of just if you're actually ready for it.
Okay. And I knew, I was there when they would teach the corporal's course on board the ship. And I would see them teaching all this leadership training to the young Marines coming up. And it's a big deal for the Marine Corps. So that's awesome. And for the Navy, it's the same thing, make them petty officer, right? Because we're not NCOs, we're petty officers, even though it's
Mm.
very similar, right? So almost a year now in the service. Have you adjusted any of your plans yet? Or is everything still according like, are you still going
Um,
for what you'd already started out to plan for?
I'm still going for the 20 years. I
Okay.
I like the way that it's going for me. It hasn't been too many hiccups or anything other than my hip injury.
Mhm.
Um, I'd still like to be a drill instructor once I get sergeant. Um, I might lat move eventually to 64, but it's not so much of lat move for me because it's still within the utilities. It would be more of just go take their advanced course, which a
Mhm.
64 is like HVAC or Jenny.
Mhm.
That's originally what I wanted when I got engineering, but
Okay.
ended up with water purification. Um, so if I could go take the advanced course, then I would just for the certs. Um, Everything else though is still pretty in the air.
Okay. N- You said you want to be a drill instructor. I think that'd be amazing. I always wanted to be a drill instructor too. They said no because my tattoos. And then the Navy went and authorized all the tattoos in the world after that, right?
Mhm.
Um, but that'd be a good one. Some of my favorite guys that I watch on like YouTube or like on social media, like one guy, his name is Bull. He's a retired Marine Corps Sergeant Major, and he was a big time drill instructor, and I like watching his content. Right, I think that because one thing, a lot of the drill instructors they do more than one tour as drill instructors. It looks like they go do it once, and they go back to the fleet, then they go back and do it again. But
Mhm.
you also got to really like it because I feel like it's a lot of time away from home.
Oh, it is 100%. Because as a
Yeah,
drill instructor, you have to do 36 months. It's not like you
yeah.
can just, go do a year and then get off of it or whatnot. You have 36 months straight of being a drill instructor, and you get, I think it's 2 weeks in between each cycle for you to just have a break, which is really hard because you're basically just living with the recruits at that point. Because I don't think there was a single time that we saw a drill instructor for us away from us for more than a day.
Right. Yeah, so then imagine if they got wife, kids, husband, whatever it is, and they're trying to balance all that out, and they're like, and you're not supposed to be on deployable duty right now. This is like shore duty, bro. Like, what are you doing?
Right?
Yeah. But I mean, I will tell you, for at least for the Navy, it's a very career enhancing job, right? And I will tell you, my recruiting tour was also career enhancing in that you get leadership skills from those positions that you just can't learn anywhere else, right? Going through those things, and just so you know, I'm sure the drill instructor qualification school is hell on wheels. Like
Oh, it is.
I'm, I'm sure.
We saw, so actually, there was one time that I want to say we were phase two, we were just getting ready to go to range, And
Yeah.
all of a sudden we saw these two drill instructors that we had never saw before, and they didn't have a campaign cover, they just had their 8 point. And we were so confused because they started yelling at us, and we were like, I man? Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
And we learned later on that they were actually in the drill instructor school, and they were
Mm.
learning how to become drill instructors. And their little like test that they had was to go into a company, and they had to act as a kill hat and, go yell at people and see
Right.
how they handled it. And they came and gone like nothing ever happened. But we were beyond confused that they were like, what is happening? Who are these people?
They were just coming to practice their extreme communication skills with you guys, right?
Yes.
You know, the other thing that they've changed, if you ever are interested in when you get older as well, is they now hire NJRTC instructors that only have had 8 years, I believe, of experience in the military. Right. So that's just so you know, that's another thing that's available nowadays. But you've also got to be able to find a program. Like if you did 12 years in the Marine Corps or 10 years in the Marine Corps and then got out, you could possibly get a job as a teacher in a high school as a JROTC instructor. But the problem there is, uh, I don't, that pay for me I don't think that pay would be enough. If I didn't have my disability pay and my other retirement paycheck, I don't know that I can afford to do it on the pay of just what they give me. You know what I'm saying? So that's something to think
Mhm.
about. But I know that some of you guys that I was a third class petty officer, E4 5, so 4 years in the Navy when I first thought about becoming an ROTC instructor, right? And I just kept touch with the program throughout my career, just kept watching it and thinking about it and watching it and thinking about it. And you got the chance to be with me there. Like it's freaking an amazing place to serve, right?
Oh, it
But
is
and we
100%.
also but you can't hate kids, right? You just because you talked about wanting to do that maybe someday too. You said you might want to be an ROTC teacher when you got out of the military.
Right.
So
I think I'd like the opportunity to be able to help students get through what I did and
oh, I know you
share
would.
my experiences with it. And I
Oh
think
yeah,
it'd be so cool. But at the same time, like you said, if you don't have the retirement and all the other stuff, it's not the most, it's not the greatest paying job in the world.
yeah. You got to really, really, really not be worried about money like as a priority. And I know some people that do that. I mean, and I tried not to do it too, but I also have enough money coming in that I don't have to worry about the money. But sometimes people don't have enough money coming in that they can't help but worry about it because big bills or hope wanting to do things in your life and being frustrated. I feel like that's a challenge. But definitely keep that on your in your thought process, because having been a drill instructor, I would say that would be a huge advantage to becoming then a ROTC instructor and having that background of Marine Corps drill instructor. Of course, like you said, they drill different, right? Like you said,
Uh,
they taught you to march differently.
going going to boot camp after doing like JRTC drill for 3 years, it was the biggest learning curve. I think
Yeah,
out of everything I did, that was the hardest thing because I would do a drill movement and then they would yell at me because I did it wrong, but it's what I've been doing the past 2 years. So
you're right.
um, if even just how you march, whenever we did it, we'd slap our toes on the ground, but in
Right.
JRTC, you roll your heels. So everywhere that we would go, they'd say point your toes, and I'm like, this is the weirdest thing I've ever done because
Yeah.
you're pointing your toes in big combat boots that your ankles don't move. So then you're just like in the most awkward position, and then they tell you to put a pack on and do a column right, and it's like, I no, I don't like this.
Do you guys do a lot of marching or drilling there at your schoolhouse now?
At the schoolhouse, we do still have to do like just marching from place to place information, but we don't do any
Mhm.
like columns or to the rears or anything like that. It's just normal forward march and hold.
Got it. Well, and I would tell you, because for me, after basic training, I literally did not march ever again until I was in ROTC, trying to
Yeah,
figure it out. It's not like we just all do those things all the time. So I think Maybe once you become a DI, you'll have a better idea as to why they wanted to do it a certain way, or you'll have a better understanding as to what they were looking for. Because I think the only one that could ever answer that question would be a Marine, you know. But then we
Mhm.
have Marine Corps JRTCs that compete against us, and they march the same way that we march. So it
Right.
doesn't really, it does, yeah. I'd be interested to know like what was the difference there. Uh, there with your leadership in your schoolhouse, what is that like? You have like instructors that are like over responsible for you guys as like students?
So we have our instructors, which are called our class advisors. So we have one specifically for our class, which is Sasan Roll. But we do have like other instructors around that help us. And
Mhm.
then they have course chief, which is over them. But it's kind of funny because our class advisor got put up for course chief. So now he's both our advisor and our course chief. It's very confusing.
Mm.
But and then within the actual platoon, we have a class leader, which is one of us that leads the class. And then we also have guide and squad leaders.
Okay. And then your course chief, as you said, is a staff sergeant. So
Yes.
you don't have uh really, you're not so staff and so staff sergeant's really the senior NCO that you guys are dealing with day to day or frequently.
Right. We
Okay.
did have a gunnery sergeant, Gunny Biesel, but she got put to teach course instructors. So she just went one step higher.
Okay. How is it with making friends and all that there? Have you found that to be relatively easy?
It's hit or miss because there's so many different personalities and people from so many different places that
Mhm.
some people see others as weird, some are just it's very much like high school all over again, where it's
Mhm.
like you have your jocks, you have like the popular people, you have the nerds, you have like every group.
Right.
And it's weird for me because I'm a part of every group
Mhm.
because I do everything. I try not to like stay in like one group, but
Right.
I did find like a couple people here. Like I have my buddies Rodriguez and Sick and we go everywhere together. But there's still some that not too fond of me, but we exist enough within this
Yeah.
schoolhouse.
Oh, it's unfortunately, dude, it's gonna be like that, right? Unfortunately, the way you are, you're such a firecracker, and you got the capability to do pretty much whatever you want to do, and you got the freaking potential to do whatever you want to do. That not everyone's gonna always appreciate that. On the reverse, when I was on the aircraft carrier, one of my favorite things was that I could eat at pretty much any table. Right. It wasn't just like I could eat with the nukes. I could eat with the Airedales. I could eat with the engineers. I could eat with the anybody. Right. Because what I did, I needed all of them to help me do my job, so I had to have relationships with everybody. And so you want to be that's a really good place to be is where you can get along with everybody. Doesn't mean you're going to go over all their houses and watch TV together and like have sleepovers, but you get along for the most part, right? And you can
Right.
learn how to work with each other. And you guys are all still in this weird space where you guys are just kind of holding, waiting to move on to this next 3-year hitch, right? When you go to your next job. Hopefully, when you get to now, when you get to your logistics battalion or your group, your MLG there in at Lejeune, are you able to already get to know any of them ahead of time?
So I am going with I want to say seven other people out of my class to ATSB.
Oh wow.
Um, because there was so many that are going there. And then also the TAC before us, our classes are called TACs. They just graduated a week ago.
Mhm.
And there's several from that. They're also in ATSB. And then I have some like my roommate is going to second med, so she'll be right there with me. And then I have a couple other people that are going there like maintenance. So I'll have people around. And also whenever I was class lead for the MAT platoon, um, I managed to make a lot of friends that are combat engineers as well. So
Mhm.
I have friends pretty well around me that have already been established in like whatever they're doing. And I also have a couple of infantry friends just from boot camp and whatnot, so it should be relatively easy to blend back in, but we'll see.
Nice. Will you have to change barracks rooms?
Yes, I'm moving literally like 10 minutes down the road, but I have to pack
Oh,
everything up, move it,
yeah.
unpack it, plus add more. So,
Yeah. Well, one of my biggest challenges was when I was Naval Base Guam Master Chief, I had to run all the barracks rooms. And just seeing that kind of thing would be so frustrating for me because I'm like, why am I making this sailor, this Marine move when I own all the barracks anyway? And but they want you in their barracks, right? They want you in
yep,
their barracks with your because they want to have a culture where everybody's living with everyone that they work with and they don't have other people getting into their stuff. So you're gonna essentially have to move into their barracks, right?
yep. And I also heard that so obviously females have to room with females, and there's two to a room. But I
Mm.
heard that there was already an uneven amount there, and then an uneven amount went. So now it's evened out. So whenever I go, I might end up by myself for a little bit, which I'm not complaining. I love being by myself. But
Right.
that also means that I'm gonna get a random person that I don't know as my roommate. So
That
that'll be
is
fun.
true. You might get a rando. You
I
might
hope
get
not, but we'll see.
well, I mean, or somebody will get ready to leave and you can maybe move in this with somebody else before that happens, right?
Right.
On the reverse, if you get a random person that's newer than you, you can kind of give them, hey, here's the way things are going to be in the room. Hopefully, we can work together on that. But uh, because that's how fast you become senior. You get there, and then 3 months later, some new Marine checks in that just got out of school or whatever it is, and they already look up to you like, oh, you've been here longer than me, right?
Right.
And that's just how I remember I'd been on the ship like a month and we had gone to a little underway. We got back to Sasebo and there was new sailors on the pier and the older petty officers was like, look at that, Wise, you're not the new guy anymore. And that's how fast that was, that all of a sudden I had people that were newer than me, right? And you start working with them and helping them figure things out. Um, well, dude, I hope everything goes good for you. I don't think you have anything to worry about. I think you're going to continue kicking butt, taking names. Do you have any concerns?
Not really. I mean, I'm always gonna have a concern about my hip and how it's gonna
Mm,
do in anything. But
yeah.
as far as like actually being in the fleet or whatnot, I feel like it's gonna be relatively easy. I'm gonna have late nights where I'm gonna be at the shop until God knows what time, but
Mhm.
I'm always gonna have the freedom of just hopping in my truck and going down the road to go do whatever. So it'll be nice, but I mean, let's just hope I don't get like NJP'd or some shit. Like that'd be
The hell? Why are we even
sorry.
going to bring that up? But you're not wrong. I mean,
Mhm.
you're not wrong. What's that tattoo on your arm saying?
Temple Hollow.
Ah, okay. Got
I
it.
designed it myself.
Yeah.
I also just got
Uh,
wings on my back.
Woo, look at you. You like the pain, huh?
I do. I love it.
Yep. Nope. I went through my phases too. I would go through phases getting quite a few tattoos, then I would take some time off, then I'd go through again and get a bunch more and take some time off. At least you're like artistically putting thought into yours. I used to just walk into the thing like, give me that guy right there and just
Like
sit down.
that thing.
Pretty much. Like literally. It was just, yeah. I went through those phases and I had to get my whole back tattooed because I had to cover up that much bad work, right? Because I just, nothing like getting a tattoo in a foreign country that you don't know what the hell they're doing anyway. Why not get a tattoo?
Right.
Um, I would tell you, for this first couple of years, just really work hard on learning your job, learning the Marine Corps, getting to NCO, right? Not being a problem. Be very cautious around alcohol, right? Not even if you drink or don't drink, but the people that you're around, right? Just be
Mhm.
very cautious there. Know that you can always can always call me. You can always call your mama, right? And talk, knowing that everyone's gonna still love you no matter what. And I'd say after the first couple of years, definitely think about what you can do to prepare for yourself for life after the Marine Corps as well,
Mhm.
right? I wouldn't worry about that right away. I would learn my job first, right? I would tell sailors the same thing. Like learn your job first. And once you get really good at your job, then start thinking about, do I need any other, like you said, certifications or any other things that might make me a little more marketable once I retire from the military? Because a lot of times people say like you, I'm going to do it at 20, and then you blink and you're at 20. Like it goes so fast, right? And
Yep.
people just they don't recognize how fast things are gonna go, because you're gonna blink and be at how long are you gonna be at with that MLG? Is it a 3-year hit or is it 2 years with them?
3 years.
3 years. So you'll probably do at least 1 to 2 floats in that 3-year period of time, right? I would like to imagine, which is a deployment on board a ship of some sort.
Right.
Uh, at least I used to, on my ship on Ashland and on Ogden, we brought MLGs on board, right? Um, and so I would hope you get that experience, right? Because that's, in my opinion, that's where the Marine Corps really belongs, is embarked on board Navy ships, right? Going out to do the amphibious operations that the world fears, right?
Right.
But the only way you can get good at that is learning if you get seasick or not, right? Learning if you get seasick or not. Your TSP is all squared away, I believe, so that should
It
be
is.
good. Let that just keep that rocking and rolling, and you know, I'm glad you haven't went out and bought a new car yet. Be careful there, right? You don't need a Mustang GT convertible or whatever,
No, I am
you
getting my
know.
truck fixed up as we speak, though.
Okay.
My parents found one of their buddies. He's a mechanic, so they were like, "Hey, we'll get your truck looked over." And then I was like, "Hey, what about like a lift kit and like some new tires, maybe a paint job?" So now I sent them some money so that they could get it done for me, so I have it for when I'm here. So
Nice, nice. You have to send me a picture of that truck. I think it'd be interesting to see that little truck all jacked up on Mountain Dew. What are you gonna nickname that truck now, man? It's gonna be all
Tasty.
freaking okay. Still Bessie got it. All right. I'm glad you didn't get a motorcycle. I saw that one picture. You had a motorcycle helmet. I was like, no, Smitty, don't do that. Did you buy a motorcycle?
Not yet.
Motorcycle. Okay. Look, I'm not mad at you. You love it, live it. If you like it, I love it. Go enjoy it, but just be careful. Right? Just be careful. Um, well, hey, if you had if you had a message for the cadets that might listen to this podcast or watch this podcast, you got any advice for them?
Stay locked in. Keep doing what you're doing. Stay disciplined. Make sure that you have things planned out and you're not just going by, whatever you think that you might want to do. And just keep steady.
Yeah, it goes by fast, huh?
It does
Like
very, very fast.
it does. Like we have a drill competition this Saturday, and I don't think we're gonna qualify to go to states this year for the drill comp, because we did really good this year, but they changed our area again. And so now our area 11 also includes schools up in Pensacola area that are like amazing at drill, that are like, they're like amazing, and they've never competed at any of our competitions, but they're getting the passes to go to states to fill our quotas. So when there was
Mm,
4 or 5 spots that we would have gotten into, they put some of those schools from Pensacola in there that are winning competitions up in Pensacola, just not in our area. But they're going to come. So area is going to be a freaking, our states is going to be a shootout, man. It's
oh.
going to be a shootout. And if they do invite us to go, I got to think twice about it, because I don't know if I feel like going there and just getting shot up. Like,
No, but y'all have been doing really good this year, though. Y'all are getting a
we
lot of
did.
hardware.
We did really good. We did really good, but it's also like it's relative, right? Like depending, like yesterday we won a orienteering competition, right? But then there was
Mhm.
only like 10 schools that went there, and a lot of the heavy hitters weren't there. So of course that was our chance to win. We went to Orlando. We went to the USF Battle of the Bulls drill comp 2 weeks ago, and that was like everyone was tuning up for states.
Mm.
Not that successful. We went to one 2 weeks before that, and we did very good. We've got one this Friday in Orlando that a lot of schools are not going to be at because they're all going to states. So they're not going to be at this one. So I think we're going to be fairly successful here. Right. But
Right.
I mean, you just got to be honest about, where you're at, and be happy for those moments so you get recognition. Right. Because it was an amazing feeling to actually get a trophy for drill. Like that was like
Right.
incredible. You know how that pain was, right? I'm trying to build that team up. But I also think it's like that's kind of where we are as a program. I love my program to death, but I'm also not, I'm realistic, right? I never
Mhm.
forget I'm only 5'6". Like I'm never gonna act like I'm a freaking like but I love what we've got, right? I love our backyard, I love our portables, I love our little family environment, and we'll do what we can do, but we'll see. So, but the cadets are kind of sad that we possibly are not going to go to states, but because you know how it is when you're a senior and it's your last stroke comp, then it's over.
Right.
And it's now what do you do? Now you start preparing for the next big thing. So, um, well, I appreciate you taking time to join me today on the show.
Of course, I see it everywhere. I love seeing everything that you do.
Thank you very much. I appreciate all the support. Looking to have some more of you guys on here. Again, dude, if you ever need anything, even if you just need someone to talk to, give me a call. I'm here for you. I got love for you, kid. You take care of yourself up there. Be careful with the booze. Like I'm just telling you that. I'm sure you've seen enough already in your short little time in the Marine Corps that you understand what I'm coming from with that. And I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that sometimes people lose control of situations and it's
Mhm.
usually alcohol's involved, right? It's just
100%.
unfortunately true. It's part of our culture, right? And it's not always one of the best parts. So just be careful with that. Don't lose focus on your priorities. Look for good mentors, right? Especially in the
Mhm.
water dog community, because you need to find out how to be the best water dog you can be so you can be the best Marine you can be supporting your team, right? And hopefully you can. I mean, do you think you'll be a sergeant by the end of your 3 years with the MLG?
I'm hoping
I
so
think you should be,
because
right?
we promote pretty quickly as water dogs because we don't have very high retention rate.
Yeah.
So, I know I'll be corporal by the end of it, but fingers crossed I'll be sergeant.
So what do you mean they don't have a lot of water dogs get out?
Yeah, or they
They
lat
just
move.
or they lat move. So they just don't find the fulfillment there. Well, in my mind, all I hear is opportunity then, because that just sounds like an
100%.
easy my mind, right? There's lots of ways to get wins in this world, right? If people are gonna get out of your way, thank you. No problem. And you could be a drill instructor before you know it.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. Well, take care of yourself, man. And if you ever need anything, hit me up, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, we're gonna wrap this up. Do you have any save rounds or alibis?
None here.
None here. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining Smitty and I. We appreciate y'all for listening. And if you ever have any questions or any comments, hit us up below. All right, Smitty, I'll talk to you later, sis.
Bye.
Bye.
And I know I was born for this. I know I was born for this. Don't care for the critics, my words are like physics, a force that they can't stop. They just don't get it, I think they forget I'm not done till I'm on top. I know